first time to Malaysia? Oh, second time to Malaysia. What was the most outstanding thing that came to you when about Malaysia?
There are a lot of things exciting, but most exciting, I love most of the people. It's wonderful. What a beautiful audience we have.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Han. We're so happy to have you here, and you have kept us on the edge for many hours today. All right, we hand your mic over to you, and the floor is yours.
All right. Okay, I guess. Do I stand here? All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, hope you guys already have a very good time, right?
Yeah.
You love that, right? Okay, now we're gonna switch gear a little bit, talk about science and the product. Okay, hopefully you guys are ready. We're gonna talk about, of course, whole life transfer factor, right? And our immune system. So today we're gonna break the whole our presentation into four parts. One, the first part, of course, we're gonna talk about immune system. What's your immune system? What are the parts and their function for your body? And also we're going to talk about how to educate your immune system during this challenging time, especially over the past 3 or 4 years. And then the second part, we're going to talk a little bit about what is whole life transfer factor, right? So we're going to keep this brief and try to touch on points that really matter to you guys and to whole life as a company. And then part 3, we're going to talk about how does transfer factor work for your health? How does it work in your body? I'm going to share a little bit about the science we have done over the past many years. And also, the last part, which is probably the best part I love the most so far, is that we recently conducted a clinical study showing that whole life transfer factor activates your immune system within only 2 hours. It's that quick. Okay, let's go ahead, talk about immune system. So we will learn that your immune system literally located throughout your body, and they play different functions for your overall immune health. It involves a lot of cells, a lot of tissues, a lot of organs. And another thing you will learn is that your immune system is literally your immune health is literally your health, your overall health. Your immune system pretty much, because I'm a scientist, I should never say 100%, right? It's pretty much your immune health is your overall health. All right, and also you will learn that your immune system, there are different styles or different types of immunity. It can not only respond to those threats immediately, but also have the so-called adaptive immunity that can recognize and remember potential health threats, so they can tackle them much quicker in a later time once you encounter those threats. All right, okay. First, your immune system, as we mentioned that, you guys probably already know that it's literally located throughout your whole body. Those are just some of the major organs and parts that play major roles in your immune system. One thing I want to specifically mention is the so-called Peyer's patches. So it's just a very fancy name for your immunity that located in your digestive system, or commonly known as gut, right? So that's the immunity that located inside your gut. So we already know that healthy immune cells and especially healthy digestive function and the healthy microflora are very important for your immune health as well as your digestive health. So this so-called Peyer's patch or your gut immunity is about 70% of your body's total immunity. Think about that, 70%, that's the vast majority of your body's immunity. So it's really amazing, right? So remember this is very important because every time we talk about immunity, you have to think about what you eat, right? Because 70% of your immunity is literally here in your gut. All right, immune cells, there are many different types of immune cells. However, those are the 8 types I want you to at least try to remember or try to get familiar with. One is the neutrophil, the other one eosinophils and basophils. Also, these monocytes and macrophages. We have natural killer cells, and we have B cells and T cells, which are responsible for producing antibodies. Okay, there are also 2 different types of immunity, right? So one type is the so-called innate immunity. It's pretty much your immediate defense against whatever invaders come into your immunity, come into your body. Another one is the adaptive immunity. This is like a delayed defense or response, but it's very important as well because it not only provides some immediate defense, but also plays a much more important role, which is try to remember that threat so it can produce certain antibodies that specifically attacking those threats in a later occasion. So whenever you face another challenge of the similar invaders, you don't have to face the whole disease, you face fight the whole battle again. So you already have those memory, can do that easily. So one analogy I commonly use is that innate immunity, think about this as your standing army that always attack whatever are invading to your body. And this adaptive immunity is not like a special force or special task force that they are specifically trained on certain tasks. They're specifically trained to deal with certain health threats or certain invaders, whatever those challenges your body are facing. So this is very important because you want to make sure your body is able to handle those general threats as well as those very specific threats. So this is the common analogy I would love to use. Okay, briefly, innate immunity involves many cells. Primarily, this is 6 types of immune cells. We mentioned those: neutrophil, eosinophils, basophils, macrophages, monocytes, and natural killer cells. Adaptive immunity primarily involves B cells, T cells. Those are primarily responsible for producing antibodies and make sure your immunity can handle whatever threats your body faced before. So they just don't have to face fight the whole battle again and again, right? All right. Okay. So we talk about those, your immunity, where they're located, and what are the types of those cells and the organs, right? But keep in mind, those cells, those different types of immunity, and those different organs, they all work together to perform 2 very basic or very important functions or tasks. Those are, first, you want to make sure the body is able to neutralize those harmful bacteria, virus, or even toxins. Those are foreign invaders, right? The second is that you want to make sure your body is able to take care of your own malfunctional cells. For example, there's a lot of people, you heard about those cancer cells or whatever other cells, right? Those malfunctional cells, especially those cells that are not functioning in the way that they should be. So your immunity also has this capability of recognizing and neutralizing and eliminating those cells as well. All right. So that's probably the most important message you can learn. You want to remember about what your immunity does to your body, and also this is the one thing I really like a lot is that when people often ask me, how to educate your immune system, especially during the challenging time. Everyone heard about such a thing called COVID, right? So really, if you ask me, my honest answer is always a healthy lifestyle. Healthful lifestyle is always the key. Nothing else can replace that. So that includes get adequate sleep, right? You want to make sure you sleep well. That's why we develop sleep right. And you want to make sure you manage your stress level, especially chronic stress, all right? Certain acute stress is actually good for your health, good for your whole life as well. But too much chronic stress can be really bad to your body, to your health. Of course, exercise regularly. Even you don't want to become an athlete. I guess that's pretty much everyone, right? Not many people want to become an athlete, but there's still a lot of things you can do. For example, take some 10 minutes or 15 minutes walk every day, or maybe after every meal. That's very healthy. A lot of studies show that just simply walking can be very helpful for your health, especially regulating your blood glucose, improve your immunity. Now, especially if you walk outside in your forest, in your garden, those things that helps your immunity a lot. And of course, eat a balanced diet that is high in colorful vegetables and fruits. Also, wash your hands frequently. Everyone knows why, right? So we already learned that from such a thing called COVID. And also, take some immune supplements. Everyone knows the vitamin C, zinc, those are very good ones. And vitamin D, also very good for your immunity. And of course, whole life transfer factor. But also got asked a lot, what's the right way to manage your immune system? Is that you want to make it like a very active or overactive, or you want to control it to a level that it is not that active? Again, my short answer is always you want to make sure you have a strong and balanced immune system. Now, why is that? Think about that. Remember the earlier analogy I used? Think about army, right? So neither overactive or not active is not good. Not active, pretty much, not recognizing threats. That's certainly not a good thing, right? Overactive. Think about your army. Think about an army that is totally chaotic, that turns against its own people. That's how overall active immunity looks like to your body, to your overall health. So you don't want that either. Right? We have a lot of studies showing that, for example, although I know we cannot talk about disease terms, there are a lot of autoimmune diseases are exactly because of your immune system is overactivated. So make sure you try to educate your immune system. Make sure you have a very healthful lifestyle. This is probably more important than anything else. All right. To summarize what we talked about in the part one, so we learned that the immune system is located throughout your body and has many different cells, tissues, organs involved. And certainly, is play a very, very important role for your overall health and your body, because you take care of your own body by defending against invaders, not only invaders, but also your inside cells that runs in, right? That totally not bad. We talk about innate immunity, right? That's the immediate response. We also talk a little bit about adaptive immunity. That's a delayed and learned response. That's the part that actually help you recognize or remember those potential health threats you faced before. So again, I want to emphasize this again. Healthful lifestyle is always the key to a strong and balanced immune system. You want to make sure you have a strong and a balanced immune system. All right. Is everyone doing okay? No? All right. I want to walk around here, but I don't want to block you guys. Sorry to see that. So, but anyway, so I think you guys already learned very, very quickly. I know a lot of you guys probably know better than I do about those immune system, right? So you guys have many of you guys done whole life transfer factor for many years, like Sherry. I heard about that. You did have done this many years. I'm sure many of you guys learned a lot about transfer factor, knows a lot as well. So, but we're still going to talk about what is the whole life transfer factor. I believe there are probably some are fairly new, right? The first time introduced this whole life office. Welcome. We're really excited to see everyone here. So let's talk about whole life transfer factor now. So in the coming maybe 10 or 15 minutes, we will focus on those different areas. First, we're going to talk about that was the composition of this whole life transfer factor is primarily composed of small bioactive peptides and proteins from cow calcium and chicken egg yolks. Also, transfer factor is made by the immune system, and is made for your immune system as well. Another thing, which is probably one thing I like a lot, is that it's 100% safe for human consumption. I think I said it earlier, I was a scientist, right? That was 100%. Did I say that wrong? No, it is 100% safe for human consumption. And we'll briefly talk about that. And also, Full Life has patented technologies to specifically extract those transfer factors from cow calcium and chicken egg yolks. Also, in order for us to better understand and further advance the transfer factor science, we use state-of-the-art technology to learn a lot about those transfer factors, specifically at molecular levels and at further levels. All right, so how and why transfer factors are made? So immune knowledge is often transferred from the mother to the newborn. Actually, we have records going back to 100 years ago about the immune transfer from not only mammals like cow, humans, but also for those birds and other type of animals as well. So this immune knowledge transfer process is very important. Think about that. When those new offsprings were first introduced into the world, they don't have a strong or mature immune system yet. So their immune system is very much immature or naive, that can be easily exposed to those health threats, can be destroyed by those health threats if you're not very careful with those. Right? So that's why it's so important for those newborns to get those immune knowledge transferred from their mother. So we know that primarily this process is transferred by placenta during the pregnancy and calcium or milk during the lactation for mammals. Right? For birds or reptiles or other animals, those are primarily transferred by eggs. So that's why we try to get those transfer factors from cow calcium and chicken egg yolks. But also, as I said earlier, this transfer factor is 100% safe for human consumption. I can tell you that without any hesitation. So we know that because not only because we did a lot of study on the safety, but also because of the historical use. So I think about the source of the transfer factor. They're from cow calcium, which is one type of milk, and they're from chicken egg yolk, that's part of the egg, right? Humans have been using and consuming milk and eggs for hundreds and thousands of years. I never heard anyone got any problem by eating milk or eating milk or eating eggs. So they're 100% safe. So another thing is that humans can also benefit from those transfer factors, although those are made for those their newborn offsprings of those mammals, these birds. Now, why is that? That's primarily because we learned that transfer factor actually works in a very fundamental level that is across those different species. So we have done some research showing that the sequence of those transfer factors from cow calcium and chicken egg yolks, they share a lot of similarities. That means they're operating in a level that is, regardless of your species. I see any other questions? I got a lot about those. I guess maybe we can talk about this later, that question. So let's talk about this full life transfer factor extraction method. So remember we got transfer factors primarily from two different sources, right? One is from cow calcium and the other one is from chicken egg yolk. So for transfer factor from calcium, we use the filtration process. So cut the long story short, for life have several patents that specifically on those process. Those patents protect for life technology, so we can guarantee that those technologies, these products, these transfer factor products are always proprietary and exclusive to for life. Chicken egg yolk is a little bit different. So we use a different method. It's called phase separation. So we can actually the egg yolk from the white and the egg shell. So that's a different technology. And we also have a patent to protect this, so we can make sure it's always proprietary to us. Besides those, methods and technologies on the filtration, extraction, we also did a lot of studies and still doing a lot of studies on transfer factor, try to understand that better, including those methods: amino acid analysis, size exclusion, chromatography, and proteomics. Those are the three major methods we have used and are still using to help us understand full life transfer factor, to help us further the transfer factor science. So let's briefly talk about each of them. So amino acid analysis is very simple. We already know that those transfer factors is small peptide and protein, right? So proteins and peptides are composed of amino acids. So what did this method do was, so you break down those protein chain, break down them into amino acids, and then we analyze the composition of those different amino acids. As you can see, we have done those study on the ultrafactor, nanofactor, overfactor. You see, the full of those amino acids were very rich in the so-called essential amino acids as well. So why we call those essential amino acids? Essential means that your body cannot make those amino acids on your own. You have to either eat from food or take through supplement. So those are wonderful composition based on those results. Another method that we use a lot is called size exclusion chromatography. So this is a method that specifically measure the molecular size or molecular weight of those protein or peptides that are in this transfer factor from calcium or chicken egg yolk. I mean, those are very complex mixtures, so we want to make sure we understand those molecular weight, how big they are or how small they are. You might be wondering why the size is important, right? So it's very simple, because throughout the many years we have learned that those transfer factors, specifically those active biopeptides that give you this immune benefits, are often quite small. They are typically smaller than 10,000 Daltons. So that's why we want to make sure we are getting the right amount of those transfer factors. We're getting the highest quality. So one way to just look into this is that, I believe everyone heard about the antibodies, right? And we talk a little bit about antibodies. Antibodies is primarily the so-called immunoglobulin. So that's the technology term. So it's this type of protein that give you this memory of your immunity. So your body don't have to always fight a full battle whenever it comes to face the same invader or same threats again. So those are molecules that are quite big. Immunoglobulins are quite big. They are typically at least bigger than 20,000 Daltons. So oftentimes like 50 or 70,000 or even bigger. So on the top graph, that's colostrum. Right? Colostrum is this, just something not extracted, not filtered. So it has quite a bit of immunoglobulins. So as you can see on this graph, it shows quite a big peak here, right, on the left side. So the left you are, more left you are, the size of the molecule is. So the molecular weight is heavier. However, if you look into the filtered colostrum, which is very similar to transfer factor, so this is so those peak, those are much smaller than ours. So that's why we often use this method to check whether we're getting the correct size we need to get for our transfer factor. So we can use that as a method to measure and monitor and control our quality of transfer factors we are getting. Okay, this so-called SEC or size exclusion chromatography is a wonderful method. However, it does not tell you the sequence of the peptides or proteins we're getting from transfer factor, right? So that's why we want to use another method. It's called proteomics. What it does is it's similar to the first method we talked about amino acid analysis, right? So you break down those the protein or peptide chains and break down them into amino acids. You analyze them. This method takes that one step further. So not only we break them down, analyze their composition, but we also try to sequence them and try to get all those data and put those sequence data into the existing database. We already know about all those proteins out there in the world. So we can compare which one this is matching to what we are finding from our transfer factor. So still there are a lot of things we're learning. There are a lot of things still ongoing, but we already learned a lot. One thing I can tell you was that, for example, we work with several universities to try to better understand those full life transfer factors, not only about their molecular size, but also their sequence, molecular level. There, we have identified a lot of peptides and proteins from this transfer factor. Literally, I think the number is about like 30 or 35,000 protein sequences we already identified from transfer factor. But again, we can never guarantee that's all we have here, because there are always something we're learning about transfer factor, about transfer factor science every single day. Another thing, I'm sure everyone heard about artificial intelligence, right? So we are trying to work with some university and non-university research institute to utilize artificial intelligence to help us better understand those transfer factors, how they're made and what are their health benefits, exactly, what else we can learn about those. So we're very excited about those. Hopefully we can have some exciting results to share with you guys in the near future. So that's about this part. So in summary, we learned that whole life transfer factor is composed of peptides and proteins from cow colostrum and chicken egg yolks. And also, it's very important here. It's made by the immune system. It's made for the immune system. And also, it's 100% safe for human consumption. So if you have anyone ever has any doubt, you can just point out to them that one is that we have done a lot of studies to show that it's 100% safe in human body, and then also because of historical usage, human have been using both cow colostrum, milk, and chicken eggs for many years, hundreds or even thousand years. Another beauty is that I guess you don't need a lot for the transfer factor to work in your body. And we will talk about that later, a little bit in the third part. Okay, we also have those patented technologies to guarantee that we always have those methods, these products, proprietary and exclusive to Full Life. Another thing is that, as we shared a little bit, so we, Full Life, especially Full Life science team, is always on the quest to further understand and further our understanding, especially on the transfer factor science every single day. All right, part three. All right, hopefully I didn't lose you guys yet. Okay, all right. Okay. If you feel like you want to stand up, feel free to do so. So you can move around if you want. Okay, part 3. How does full life transfer factor work? I guess many of you already heard of that, right? So we always talk about the 3R, right? The recognize, responded to, and remember. So you might be wondering why we're telling you the 3R. The short answer is that we have done a lot of studies and we showed that full life transfer factor does exactly the 3 things. So that includes modulates immune responses. Again, those are the technical terms. So those are like, a little bit more friendly term, right? So stimulates natural killer cells, macrophages, and the cytokines. That include innate immunity and adaptive immunity. Right? We talk about those. Also suppress healthy T cells when it becomes overactivity. And also suppresses cytokines in overactivated T cells. They also increase the production of immunoglobulin. That's the so-called immune memories. We talked about this a few times already, right? That's very important. That's the so-called antibodies. Also, we talked about the Peyer's patches. So keep in mind, your immunity always starts in your gut. That's the vast majority where your immunity is located. All right, as I said earlier, they always start in the gut. 70%, I mean, you remember this number, right? 70% of your immunity actually locates in your gut. I mean, just in a general term, right? We always refer this whole digestive system as a gut, right? But it's more like in your intestine. So maybe, make sure you get that right. The transfer factor might also bind to immune receptors. And we have done studies and we hypothesized that full life transfer factor binds to those immune receptors that in your gut. So once those immune receptors are bound, that actually triggers a cascade of immune signal. So that's gonna activate and educate your immune system to make sure they are working in the best possible way. So let me just show you one example of a study that we have done in this area about full life transfer factor. I'm sure everyone heard about the Priol, right? Priol is a very good product. My children love that. It tastes good. They can eat this all day long. Probably in 2 months, I have to hide them away. So this is a very good product. We did a study on this one, specifically try to see what does full life transfer factor do to those probiotics, those good bacteria. What we found was that those transfer factor significantly improve the survival of this good bacteria. Look at those numbers. That's like those numbers. Look at those. That's like unbelievable. That's like almost 10 times higher. So what does that mean? That means whole life transfer factor, besides having those wonderful immune benefits, is also a very good prebiotic, right? By supporting those probiotics. That's one major reason why we included transfer factor into these prebiotics. So you can get the best benefit, right? Not only supporting your immunity, supporting your digestive health by probiotic, but also you are getting the health benefit, getting the immune benefit from whole life transfer factor. At the same time, transfer factor is also very good probiotic. So you get this like a positive cycle, always feeding your immunity, feeding your digestive health. So keep in mind, this is just only one example of the studies we have done. So a lot of you might be wondering, how can we do that? It's a lot of things we have done, a lot of studies. We have keep doing this for many, many years since the beginning of the company. So that was very simple because we invested in the research and the science. We invested in the development of technology, development of products. We do this not only within our own for life scientist team, or for life team, we also have a world-class health science advisory board, HSAB. Those are our current board members. Each of them has a stellar and unique background that is complementary to for life science team. So we want to make sure we get the best and comprehensive knowledge from different areas. Each of them have very strong specialty in their own area. That's just wonderful to us. At the same time, we, for life, over the past years, we have worked with dozens, if not hundreds of universities, research universities, including those ones. I'm sure we did not include all of them. I was hoping we can find a collaborator in Malaysia as well to do some research on product transfer factor. Right? That would be wonderful as well. And also, dozens, if not hundreds of non-university research institutes. Again, this is not a complete list, just to give you an idea of those the organizations we have been working with on the science and the research side. Did you guys already see the press release we published like maybe one month ago, I guess? For Life now has 17 USA patents and 65 international patents already. So, of course, with dozens pending. So maybe next year I'm talking to you, we will talk about 100 patents. So that's amazing, right? So patents are very important. So patents protect our technology, our methods, our product, our business. As I mentioned earlier, many of you guys have been with Life for many years. Life is a generational company, right? So we want to invest into the science, technology, the research, so we can remain being the world leader in transfer factor science, in immune science. So that's what myself and all the wonderful R&D scientists are doing every single day. At the same time, we have done a lot of those wonderful studies. Wherever possible, we try to publish them. So we want to share our knowledge, our learning, our understanding with other researchers, with the community. So that's part of For Life scientist team's philosophy as well. That's very much matching with For Life's, four key values as well. We want to make sure, we are really the leader in this transfer factor science, in this immune science. So if you are interested, I strongly recommend you check out this web page, or you can do either click on save this web page or scan this QR. Each of them will take you to that web page, which hosts all the publications we have done in the past recent years. So of course there are a lot of other studies going on. We're always doing a lot of exciting studies and research, and we try to put them over there. If you want to check it out, feel free to do so. Okay, now we talk about science. I feel like it's a good time for us to play a video. Not sure what is. Okay, it's working. Oh, that's another lucky thing to me today. All right. So technology very rarely works for me.
For Life transfer factor is clinically proven to activate the immune system within 2 hours. Transfer factors aren't vitamins, minerals, or herbs. They are molecules that transfer immune memory and knowledge from one cell to another. They teach your immune system to recognize, respond to, and remember potential threats. For Life transfer factors provide vital information and education to your immune system. Let's follow the path of transfer factors through the body as they raise your immune IQ. First, the capsule travels down your esophagus to the stomach. There, it dissolves, and the individual transfer factor molecules are released. The transfer factor molecules enter the intestines, where they encounter groups of immune cells called Peyer's patches. Peyer's patches are concentrated centers of immune cells, And this is where 4-life transfer factor begins educating your immune system. They support many different kinds of immune cells, such as natural killer cells, T cells, B cells, macrophages, and more. When the transfer factors encounter an uneducated immune cell, they enter and educate that cell so it can better recognize, respond to, and remember health threats. From there, the newly educated cell creates more transfer factors to place on its surface. As educated immune cells come into contact with uneducated immune cells, they pass their immune system knowledge to those cells. The education spreads cell to cell until it reaches the lymph node, a concentrated source of immune system cells. Here, the educated cells work quickly to transfer their immune system knowledge, and soon all the cells in the lymph node have transfer factors to pass to the rest of the immune cells in your body. This transfer of immune knowledge spreads throughout the body until your entire immune system is fortified by transfer factors, making for a smarter and more vigilant immune system. Try 4-life transfer factor products today to raise your immune IQ.
That is pretty cool, right? Awesome, yeah. I love that. Whenever we're talking about science, I love that. Okay. I guess not all of you, many of you have heard about this medicine, right? So transfer factor is clinically proven to activate the immune system in 2 hours. This is the fourth part and the last part of our reading. I guess it is about this life transfer factor today. This is very, very new science, and we are actually in the process of publishing this paper. So it's not published yet, but we already done the study. We have the results. Hopefully, it will be published very soon, maybe in a couple months. So this is very, very serious stuff. This means a lot to us, right? Because whenever we talk about using transfer factor, we talk about why you need to use it every day. Because we know that you cannot just take it today and expect it's going to work forever, right? So we know that it is every single product, no matter how effective, how powerful they are, they have a certain life cycle, so-called life cycle thing. So that's why we recommend people to take it every single day. We already know that because it probably can last for like 24 hours. However, we did not know how quickly transfer factor can work on your immune system. That's why we do this study. So what we did was we partnered with Dr. Ida Jinsen, so under her Nature Immune System Labs. So what they did was they used the so-called gold standard of clinical study. This randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, crossover clinical studies. So it's the so-called gold standard of clinical studies. So blood samples were taken from those subjects that should either transfer factor, 600 milligram of transfer factor, or placebo. Placebo means does not have transfer factor, just like a sugar pill, something like that. And then when we analyze these blood samples and challenge them with bacterial and virus infection and see how quickly those people's blood samples respond to those challenges, how quickly they do that at different time points. So briefly, everyone already know that, right? And so transfer factor acts on immune cells, on different types of immune cells. Specifically, those natural killer cells. We have done a lot of stuff in this area. And whenever transfer factor acts on immune cells, there are going to be a lot of things happening. Remember that, as transfer factor reach your gut, bind those immune receptors, there are going to be a lot of immune signaling happening. So those is how complex. I mean, you can get like 100 times more complex than this if we want to dig detail into this. However, I want to point out that, so at the end of the day, after you your transfer factor, work on your immune system, work on those immune cells, you will see those changes in the cytokines. Everyone heard the term cytokines, right? It is during COVID, you heard the cytokine storm, those things. So cytokine, why people mention that? Because cytokine are very important stuff. Those are very important molecules, very important biomarkers for your immune system, for your immune response. So we also measure some of the key cytokines, some of the key immune biomarkers. As I mentioned earlier, maybe 2 minutes ago, we analyzed those people's blood samples. We challenged them with bacteria and viruses, and then we analyze how quickly and how well they respond to those challenges. Okay, here are some of the results. So without going too much into the technical details, I tell you that if you compare the difference between the placebo group and the transfer factor group, you saw big improvement in the transfer factor group within only 2 hours. So the data sharing here is just the 2-hour time point. It's that quick. You can see the transfer factors impact on your immune response. So that's why and how we tell you this message based on that study. Again, this study going to be published very soon. Transfer factor is clinically proven to activate your immune system within 2 hours. So now we have study, we have evidence to prove that. Pretty cool, right? So, which products have this new and powerful claim? Of course, as a single product, this trifactor and Rio Beta plus, Rio Beta and the Proteaf, those three, each of them have 600 milligrams of transfer factor each serving. So that's the same amount, same dose we use in the clinical study. So each of them, if you're taking one serving each day, you're getting the benefit. You can definitely tell people about the same claim we talk about 2 hours. As a combination product, there are more choices or more combinations you can go with. You can mix and match. One pack we for life offer is this one. It's just a wonderful pack. We spend a lot of time research and we select those packs and recommend it to people who need this. This is a very good starting point for people who want to try those different products. Also, you can choose and mix and match whatever product you want. As long as you're getting 600 milligrams of transfer factor, we can guarantee that you're getting those 2 hours benefit. So there's many options, right? It's just give you a few examples of few like application about using transfer factor, not only for this, the high dose of this 2 hours benefit. For me, for example, we all went through COVID. Right? During COVID, I have to work. I have to support my family, and every time I went outside to meet someone in person, I try to take transfer factor product, especially Lifestar and Proteaf. Those two are my favorite. I have other favorite products as well. So I took them. So I know that whenever I go out, I know my immune system is at their best levels. So they are protecting me. So I have less worry about getting infected by whatever other disease or germs that someone else is carrying. And another thing is that I mentioned protein earlier, right? So I try to go to gym almost every day. I try. I'm not able to do that. Okay? So every time I finish my training, I always use protein. Not only for the protein and amino acids, I guess everyone knows that, right? You need those amino acids, you need this protein for your muscle recovery, right? That's how you can recover quick, right? How you can maintain your muscle mass. However, another thing a lot of people don't know about exercise is that right after exercise, especially within like a 2, 3, or 4 hours window, your immunity is actually much lower than your normal level because of those physical exercise, especially demanding physical exercise. So that's one thing a lot of people overlook. So that's why I took protein because not only has protein, which is a very good amount, 20 grams, right? But also has a very good amount of transfer factor that specifically helps your immune recovery, help your immune system. So that's why I took this product, not only for muscle recovery, but also for immune support. You definitely need both of that in order for your not only recover well, but protect your immunity, especially after demanding physical activities. Another thing, I used to have allergy several years ago. However, since I get to know for life, I try to use not only use those ProTF and Red Star, those are my favorite products, but also I use high doses of transfer factor during the so-called allergy or cold season. I found that's very helpful. At least I personally have never had allergy since then, which is I guess another lucky thing for me, right? So it's my lucky day, I guess. Alright, those just very simple examples I want to share with you guys from my personal experience. I'm sure each of you guys have a lot of different ways to use different products. You try to fit it into your own schedules, your own routines. I guess the point is just try those products. So you will feel the difference. And the bottom line about our immune system is that your immune system is literally doing their work to protect you every single second, right? And they also need your help. You need to take care of it so they can do this job better to protect you. So I guess that's probably the most important message I wanted to deliver to you guys about this. All right. I guess this is the end. Hopefully I didn't run over time too much. So if there anything I hope you guys can remember about today is that besides you guys are wonderful, just happy to meet you guys. Whole life transfer factor really helps educate your immune system, recognize, respond to, remember potential health threats. Also today we learned about the new study. It can do its work. It can activate the immune response within 2 hours. And also, everything we're talking about immune system, immune benefit, everything starts in your gut. 70% of your immunity located in your gut. Remember that. Awesome. I guess that's it. Well, you guys are really amazing. You guys are such a wonderful audience. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that concept and all the amazing studies that we have. Now we're